Hi, I'm doing another video. I started wondering about. Hi, how are you? How's everybody? Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here in general, and I hope you're doing well. Okay, so I started thinking about Cain and Abel and that whole story, and like what because in the other video I mentioned how there is a story in Genesis that talks about how we were created and that it was plural gods. And then right after that is the fall, and it talks about Adam and Eve, and then Cain and Abel, and then everything after that. And then this mark. And so then, of course, doing a little research, I start seeing how a bunch of religions started manipulating the mark with you better not kill this person, right? Cain was given a mark because he was cursed by God. So the story is that I have a theory. This is why I'm sharing the story. The story is that Cain is born, and there is actually no real proof like who was first. Okay. And from what I'm learning, if everything is female first, I think that this story has been tricked around. So I'm just going to go with what I've learned and then go from there. So Cain is a farmer and Abel is a shepherd. Okay. And they are making something sacred or making a sacrifice. But we all know by this time in the Bible, a sacrifice means to give something to God, right? But the true meaning of the word means to make something sacred. So they go to give this offering / sacrifice to God, and God likes Abel's gift more, which apparently I think, because in some of the texts it doesn't even say actually what was given. But the story is that Abel gave one of his firstborn livestock, and that Cain gave fruits of the soil. Okay. And so God was like, I don't really like what you brought, Cain. I like what Abel brought better. So then God sees that Cain is upset that God doesn't like his offering, and then says to Cain, like, why are you upset when you came in here? I mean, I'm kind of translating this because it's actually kind of like a riddle. When you came in here, basically sin was left at the door, and what you're seeking will always be with you. So I'm guessing that's pride, right? Like, no matter whether your gift is good or bad, it's a gift. So leave your pride at the door, is my guess. Okay. Then, because Cain is so upset at this, he invites his brother out into the field and then murders him. And then God's like, where's your brother? And he's like, what? I'm supposed to watch my brother? It's not back talking God. And then and then God says, I can feel his blood crying out to me. So in my direct, okay, I'll get to that in a second. God says, I can hear Abel's blood crying out to me, so I know that you murdered him. So I'm going to curse you now. You will never be able to grow from the soil, and you will be marked. And he was like, I'll be marked. Cain says back to God, so I'm going to be marked forever, and I'll be wandering the land until somebody kills me. And God's like, no, I'm putting a mark on you, because whoever kills you will have sevenfold your curse. So I'm putting a mark on you so no one will kill you. Okay. My end note here is totally confusing. That's what the story is. I personally, at this particular moment, think this is a completely made up story. I think the whole Adam and Eve is made up. I think Adam and Eve is made up to make Eve look bad. And then from there, this story comes in, because this sounds to me like God is kind of tricky and mean. God doesn't like Cain's offering from the soil, from earth, which in the Bible it states that we're supposed to eat of the earth. The fruits and the seeds were given to us by God to eat. Doesn't say anything about like eating livestock. Does not say that. Just saying. And so God is mad at Cain for bringing earthly, what he worked for when grew. Isn't that kind of mean? I see that as pride and also shame. So then he scolds Cain for being upset. Like, he don't have a right to be upset because he's disappointed God. Like, what's more disappointing than that? Disappointing your creator. And then your creator's like, well, why are you upset? You're being prideful. And so then, like, wow, you're triple upset at me because I brought you here. So then, and then wrath comes in, right? Like, so then Cain, now wrath comes in. The wrath is, I'm mad at you because God liked you better. What is that mentally teaching us? Okay. And then also, okay, so no one could kill Cain, but wouldn't anybody be in trouble for killing now then? But no one can kill Cain, but they can kill other people? I mean, I don't know. That punishment is really confusing. And then this punishment, which is like, you're going to have a mark on you so people won't kill you. Religion decided to turn into a race issue? This is what I see it teaches us. Pride, shame, guilt, and confusion, as well as it separates us from the mother. And I actually think that Abel was not a boy. I think that Abel was possibly a woman. Maybe, like, if you spell it backwards, it's Laba, or maybe Abella, or Abel, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe that was Cain's wife, and that's why he was mad. And maybe the mark is actually like misogyny, hatred towards women. But if I really think about the whole story, I think it's made up. I think the whole entire story is made up. I think it's stolen from the original story of like Marduk and all that, and it's twisted around so that we somehow think that this is okay. How do we think it's okay that a God would do that to us? If you went to your father and your brother's right next to you and you each brought him something and he was like, oh yes, Billy, your present is really good. Tom, your present kind of sucks, but don't be upset about it. Fucking kidding me? That's a form of abuse. Like, my other note is God is tricky and mean, a punisher, and hard to please. Oh, and then also, if everything is female first, why does she exclaim, I got a boy from the Lord, or I was begotten a boy from the Lord? I think there's something in that too. Any comments? Any ideas? Anyways, that's my theory. Because it just doesn't make sense at all. And if it is based on some truth, I would think that it would be a murder of a female somehow. And that maybe, or a sister. And that the mark would be like the hatred of women. That would be the closest thing. Because otherwise, why would you want this person? What? I don't get it. Like, The curse part is the weirdest part. Like nothing you will toil will come to fruition, and you will be sentenced to wander the earth forever. But you're marked so that other people won't kill you. And then he went on to live to like almost 1,000 years. I mean, wouldn't a curse be like you can't have any more children? Wouldn't that be a logical curse? Like, no one can kill you, but you're not going to have any children either. I mean, wouldn't that really be what the fruits of the soil, your fruits of the soil won't prosper? Would that be a more logical term? And then I want to say that he went out and built cities and all that kind of stuff. And Enoch. And isn't Enoch related to Marduk? I just think it's... And all of this is supposed to be translated from Hebrew. So, honestly, I keep saying that I'd like to learn Hebrew, but I haven't. I'd like to learn a lot of things. All right, so that's my short little side note about Cain and Abel. I'm thinking the Adam and Eve story, I don't think that, and in that story they talk about, like, Adam and Eve are kicked out of the garden with the flaming sword, which rotates in all directions. Why would they need a flaming sword? Okay. And they're kicked out of the garden before they eat from the tree of life. Well, if the tree of knowledge is forbidden, then wouldn't the tree of life also be forbidden? Or if you've eaten from the tree of knowledge, wouldn't you already know about the tree of life? I mean, these things are so confusing. And I think that's the point. To confuse us. Because if we go back to the original writings, we are created in the image of many deities, not just one. Because that would make sense, because from one would come many, with my -1 energy type of theory. All right. There you go. All right. Take care. See you next time.